The Cut is brought to you by Flow.
Small business owners and independent contractors get affordable insurance with Sagicor Pro Shield. The time by Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock. CVM News at 7 headlines Thursday, brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, calls for Jamaica to assist neighboring Cuba and Haiti. JLP launches offensive as election campaign takes new shape, and PM lashes previous administration for land tenure woes. Also this evening, major crimes trending downwards. In the business report, a rude awakening for business confidence, while in sports, controversial steward's decision on Heroes Day overturned. From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. It's Thursday, October 24, 2024. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Nika Lewis. In recent years, Haiti has been grappling with a complex crisis marked by severe political instability, rampant gang violence, dire economic conditions, and a humanitarian catastrophe. The political landscape in Haiti has been tumultuous, especially following the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in July 2021, which left a power vacuum and heightened existing tensions among various factions. This instability has been forcing citizens to flee to other countries, including Jamaica. Now 90 miles from Jamaica, another neighbor facing another problem, Cuba, has experienced its worst blackout in at least 2 years, leaving millions of residents without electricity following Hurricane Oscar's passage. The outage began on Thursday evening and escalated by Friday morning, affecting the entire island. While some electricity has been restored, many areas remain in the dark due to ongoing issues with thermoelectric plants and increased demand for businesses and residential clients. This has prompted the Jamaica Opposition Party to call for action from the government. Trisha Gay Kelly now tells us about the plea coming from one advocate for our Haitian neighbors and the chairman of the People's National Party.
You were probably taught in primary school that Jamaica's two closest neighbors are Haiti and Cuba. It's often the reason why Jamaica is involved in rendering assistance to them when there are natural disasters or other extreme cases. Cuba is still recovering from Hurricane Oscar, which left the entire island without power, while Haiti is still in the midst of turmoil with gangs constantly trying to rule the country. In this report, we explore Jamaica's roles in such situations and whether there's a plan to assist our neighbors. Sections of Cuba are still without electricity after Hurricane Oscar ravaged the island, leaving thousands homeless and at least 6 people dead. The power outage began even before the hurricane as the nation's power grids collapsed repeatedly. Cuban authorities reported that power has been restored to 80% of the country. However, some areas remain in the dark. Merely 3 months ago, Jamaica was in a similar spot after Hurricane Beryl left many homes without power for weeks. It's perhaps why People's National Party PNP spokesperson on Foreign Affairs Dr. Angela Brownberg, who also studied in Cuba, is calling on the government to move with urgency to assist the neighboring nation.
When friends were few and far between for Jamaica and much of the Caribbean, Cuba gave aid in whatever manner they could, whether it was in healthcare, sports, education, or construction.
But the calls for assistance extend beyond Cuba to another neighbor, Haiti, now plagued with political turmoil. Their conflict, however, directly impacts Jamaica, with more Haitians fleeing their French-speaking nation to seek refuge elsewhere. This elsewhere is many times Jamaica, specifically Portland, where approximately 100 Haitians have washed up since 2023. This week, the first group of Haitians who were granted asylum were returned home. Freedom Imaginary's attorney at law, Melania Lane, says the Haitians being sent back home during a crisis is one issue. Them leaving family members behind is another.
What we saw last night was really an escalation of that issue involving the collective expulsion of a group of Haitians, including persons with significant family ties in Jamaica, persons leaving behind young children, young Jamaican-born children. And so we have reached a new phase in the crisis. And I believe there should be an investigation.
Elaine is suggesting the government reviews the impact its treatment of the situation can have on Haitian migrants.
We need to have an independent body determine whether this is how we want to proceed as a democracy governed by the rule of law, or whether there's a more enlightened approach to what is really a displacement crisis, which is not going to be solved by such draconian measures, which have been shown the world over to be completely ineffective at responding to crises such as these.
After reaching out to the Foreign Affairs Ministry, we were informed the minister was unavailable at the time. Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, however, expressed her sympathies for the people of Cuba online, sharing that Jamaica's embassy will continue providing services within constraints. Regarding Haiti, no update was given. But as the crises worsen for both countries, the question remains, how will Jamaica respond? Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
FinSAC-era beneficiaries should never run Jamaica. That's according to Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who recently came out swinging at the opposition PNP following the release of the FinSAC Commission archives. Holness says he's staying bullish on the economy and wants his supporters to follow suit. Ramon Gordon has the details.
Game on. The recently released FinSAC Commission archives have seemingly become fodder for the Jamaica Labour Party's bid for a historic third term. The documents, now available online, chronicle the near collapse of Jamaica's financial sector in the 1990s under the stewardship of the People's National Party.
People who are seeking to lead the country now, they benefited when they carried an economic policy called the high interest rate policy, which helped to drive up the debt. I have no doubt that that is what they want to do, to come and get wealthy on the backs of the poor. I will not allow that to happen again in this country.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness, speaking at a Young Jamaica event recently, encouraged young supporters to remain bullish on economic independence. While his remarks didn't directly reference any one individual, other JLP members have been less diplomatic.
I don't know if you hear about the Office of the Contractor General investigation into the alleged sweetheart deal involving Derring, Bunting and Golding. So a couple of deals that were arrived at between the Omar Davis and the Patterson administration and Bunting and Golding's company were highly irregular.
In 2010, the Office of the Contractor General completed an investigation into alleged sweetheart deals between the then government and Derring, Bunting and Golding DB&G. co-owned by Senator Peter Bunting and opposition leader Mark Golding. Then Finance Minister Audley Shaw accused DB&G of benefiting from improper deals, despite the company and its partners losing their entire investment in the project. Despite that, the JLP is doubling down.
You have two guys, one who's the leader of the PNP and one who them call the co-leader. They did well for themselves in that time. So now I hear them on political platforms across the country trying to pour dirt on our Prime Minister and our party. I have to say, listen to the hypocrite them, because that's what they are, all hypocrites.
CVM TV reached out to key figures in the controversy, but no response was forthcoming up to news time. We also contacted the PNP spokesperson on information and finance, who refrained from addressing the matter on the record. Despite criticism, Holness says he is unwilling to hand over the reins of power to, quote, novices.
The economic policy of their government was nothing more than the greatest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich. We cannot go back to that. And those who benefited from it must never see power in this country.
Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
We take a break. More to come on CVM News at 7.
CVM News at 7 Headlines Thursday, brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy.
Papa Jesus, insurance gone up again? Gotta go faster. It gas our insurance.
Driver, let's go.
Do you really want to stick with the same old insurer? For the first time in Jamaica, taxis, minibuses, coasters, whatever you drive, MIBinsure.com will find you an insurer who will slash your premium by up to 60%. They all claim to save you money, but only MIB Insure actually can. Switch to MIBinsure.com today and save serious money.
Just gimme, me can
Win big with Kendall this Christmas. Buy any 6 Kendall products, including Kendall corned beef, Kendall mackerel, or Kendall instant ginger teas, and you could be one of 9 winners of a double-door refrigerator, a 6-burner stove, or a brand new microwave. To enter, drop your receipt in the boxes provided at participating stores, or WhatsApp a photo of your receipt to 876-884-0411. Promotion ends December 13. Conditions apply.
Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
It's a big payday sale at Courts! Friday, October 25 to Sunday the 27th. Save $30,000 or more on top furniture, appliance, and electronics brands. 3 days of mega savings! The big payday sale at Courts, bringing value home. Conditions apply.
CVM News at 7 Thursday, brought to you by
MIBinsure.com today and save serious money.
Welcome back. As major crimes in the island trend downward, one criminologist is urging the Jamaica Constabulary Force not to become complacent. So far, the area with the lowest crime rates currently are Manchester, Kingston Western, and St. Thomas. Shantae McNeil has this report.
As at October 20, the Jamaica Constabulary Force's latest crime statistic shows a 19.3% decline in murders since January when compared to the same period last year. Shootings have reduced by 7.5%, rapes 29%, robberies are down by 19.5%, and break-ins saw a slight 2.2% dip. The area is still grappling with high crime rates include St. James, with an uptick in shootings and robberies, while the St. Andrews South Division, despite a 19.7% reduction in overall crime, still grapples with offences like robberies and break-ins. Clarendon also faces persistent issues, particularly with robberies and break-ins. In contrast, Manchester, Kingston Western, and St. Thomas are among the divisions with the lowest crime rates. In a discussion with criminologist Dr. Jason McKay, he notes, while the progress achieved by the constabulary is laudable, it doesn't diminish the severity of the current crime levels.
As low as they may look,
there is no reason to accept that they should be as high as they are. What you're seeing is the sustained effort of police officers and soldiers, in the fight against crime. So whatever has been done must continue to be done, and nothing must change. There must be no adjustment in it. If it is, there must be no watering down of the law.
He adds that for those living in volatile communities, the notion of declining crime may still feel distant and difficult to accept.
Well, when something is bad, it's not going to make persons feel better that it's not as bad as it once was, because it's still unacceptably high. So it's going to take a while for the average citizen who still sees gangs in control, who still is in fear of going into public places for being robbed, to believe that it's an improved situation. Because even though it's improved, it's still very high.
For CVM News, I'm Shante McNeil.
Housing developments are set to increase in St. James within the coming years. However, Prime Minister Andrew Holness emphasized that the delay in these projects stem from bad management in previous administrations.
The National Housing Trust, NHT, continues to make units available to its contributors, this time in Union Acres, Irwin, St. James. Prime Minister Andrew Holness was there with...
So much things to say right now.
He says persons are rather caught up with the noise, despite the efforts the government has been putting in.
A few persons have reached out to me to say, Prime Minister, we're tired to see you giving out house. And for me, it was such a contradiction that the effect of giving out houses has dulled. Can you imagine that? It doesn't have the impact that it once had. But such is life.
The PM says the surprising feedback on handover ceremonies paints the picture of the challenge faced by the administration despite its efforts, and insists that these ceremonies are important to ensure persons benefiting and the wider public gain the context of what is happening.
You see, those people who talk nonsense about the country not going in the right way and that nothing has changed in Jamaica, I urge them, before they open their mouth, in the information age, just go and Google. That was the situation 32 years ago.
Holness pins the tardiness in lands being allocated for NHT contributors to previous administration's mismanagement and agreement with unions in a 1992 signing over of lands across the island.
So from 2007 to now, we are going to be handing over Union Acres 17 years later. You see why I say I have so many things to say?
In this phase of the development for Union Acres, 50 units of 144 were handed over. Adrian Williams for CVM News.
In an emergency media briefing today, Minister of Health Dr. Christopher Tufton and senior medical officers from the Bustamante Hospital for Children sought to clear the air surrounding a matter which labeled the institution as, quote, having poor operating theatre conditions, which resulted in delayed surgeries.
Because what this article suggests is that the patient can't be operated on because the operating theatre is too hot. Essentially, my words. That's what it's saying. But what Doc is saying is that the patient has complicated, it's a more complicated case that requires more than just an operating theatre that is cooler for an extended period of time. I just want that clarity, and maybe you can talk to Dr. Dawson after that, because the impression here was very, very different. I mean, the impression here was concerning to me as the minister.
The minister suggested those allegations were rather extreme.
Impression here was concerning to me as the minister, you know, that they don't have any AC, they don't have any AC, okay, and this is supposed to be a quote, they don't have any proper equipment and the equipment weren't being sterilized. This is a substantial indictment on an institution. Dr. Dawson. Substantial. They don't have any equipment, they don't have any AC, and the equipment are not being sterilized. So it warrants a response, and that's why you're here. It warrants a response. It really don't sound good. It sounds like Bustamante's qualifies to be shuttered.
More to come after this break. Stay with us.
J&J, Montego Bay's leading pharmacy, is now open at shops 21 to 24 Harbour City Mall, with friendly staff filling your prescription while you wait in comfort. There's a special place for private conversations. For all hard-to-get drugs, prescriptions, or over-the-counter medication, makeup, fragrances, gifts, household items, and much more. You can find it all here at J&J Harbour City. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call 876-952-7386. WhatsApp 876-997-7644. We serve with care.
Jamaica, get ready! Saturday, October 26th, live on the lawns of Uimona. It's Boys to Men. Singing your favorite hits. Also performing live, Tess and Chin and Lila Ike. Get your tickets now at caribtix.com, Kingston, Jersey, and Fontana. Saturday, October 26th, 2024. It's Boys to Men, live on the lawns of Uimona. Starts at 8 p.m. Sponsored by Supreme Ventures, Mayberry, Main Event, Island Grill, and Courtly Hospitality Group.
It's a big payday sale at Courts. Friday, October 25th to Sunday the 27th. Save $30,000 or more on top furniture, appliance, and electronics brands. 3 days of mega savings. The big payday sale at Courts, bringing value home. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to CVM News at 7. It's now time for the business report with Joel Crossgill.
Lots to share with you in the business report today. Amidst marginal movement within headline business and consumer confidence in Q3, as reported by the recent JCC GK Capital Business and Consumer Confidence Indices 2024. The BR today takes a closer look at the perspectives emerging from the panel discussion in response to the results that showed that business owners' expectations for the future of the economy had moved down by 10%, the lowest recorded since Q4 2015, with 27% or 8% more firms than in Q2 reporting an expectation for a worsening in the economy over the next 12 months, despite Jamaica's rapid debt reduction, low unemployment, and the reduction in signal rates from the independent central bank. What was shared by Paul B. Scott, President and CEO Musson Group and Chairman of the Development Bank of Jamaica, as it relates to the investment market, may represent a rude awakening for many.
You know, we have a very interesting dilemma in Jamaica that people have not really spoken much about, but I think it's a byproduct of the success of the fiscal discipline and writing of our fiscal deficits and management has been that when you think about it, the debt to GDP has dropped from 150 to about 70, and that's incredible. But you can't take a flow of money that has been built up over several decades, and essentially an industry that has entirely based its total competence on just placing money on government sovereign bonds, basically at the highest yield, and then say, okay, you need to go and invest in other things, because they haven't been trained to do that. They don't know what they're looking at.
While pollster Don Anderson, whose company conducted the survey, has played a large part in driving the availability of data, the DBJ chairman emphasized the need for an investment culture of performance analysis as the key determinant for decision makers to encourage business growth.
What needs to happen is the market needs to be return orientated, performance orientated, not relationship orientated. It shouldn't be because I know him or that, or I was at school with him, or, let me make a telephone call. And that's natural, because in the first time when money becomes available, it wasn't there. It's going to be relationship orientated. Then they're going to lose, and then it's going to be performance orientated. We will start to develop and grow on a sustainable way when everything is performance orientated, where substance takes priority.
Another priority cited by members of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association relates to security concerns, which are seen as dissonant towards a more positive outlook. Some data points for you to consider, as stated by JMEA President Sidney Thwaites, that over the past 18 months, despite a reduction in crime of 16%, security costs have risen by 60%.
If you talk to the average owner of a business or the average Jamaican on the street and you told them that our crime is down, how many are going to actually believe you? Not very many. Whenever I say it in a group of even business owners, they tell me that's not true because the feeling is not there, because the cost burden is getting so burdensome for these businesses. Wow. So it's really and it's a cost we have that our competitors in other places do not have, and that's the important thing.
It's one that P.B. Scott suggests hinders Jamaican growth more than many often consider.
If you're investing money in a factory, and I get it, sure, we have energy challenges and we have security challenges, but the reality is we also have inefficiencies in exporting, the cost to export and all of those things. Why do we have inefficiencies in export? We have inefficiencies in export because of crime, because of the criminal situation that is exporting products that we're not supposed to be exporting. It's resulting in extra costs of inspecting containers, etc., which makes your exports more expensive.
Though there has been significant investment in world-class machinery by a number of manufacturers in recent times, even full automation will not resolve Jamaica's productivity deficit due to concerns surrounding population growth, according to Scott.
Think about Jamaica, and you talk about Dom Rep. Every country in Central America has increased its population from the year 2000 by over 50%. You take Guatemala. Guatemala's population was 10 million in 2000. It's going to be 18 million today. You take Jamaica, our population was 2.7 in 2000. It's going to be 2.7 today. Our death rate is, I believe our death rate is about 9 in 1,000. Our birth rate, which is halved since 1971, is 14 in 1,000. Our migration rate is 7 in 1,000. What does that mean? And by the way, our population is now declining because of this, but not only is it declining, so we have a structural demographic problem, the individuals that are creating the productivity, that are consuming, and who are part of our equation for GDP growth, are being replaced by babies. So even if you have the population at 2.7, the adults are migrating and being replaced by live, breathing, beautiful things, but they can't produce anything, and they're not going to consume anything, and that creates a structural problem for economic development and growth.
And that was your Business Report. I'm Joel Crosskill.
We take you to a break with the market summary.
That's it, we're closed. I am so sorry, we only have 3 parties left.
It's a Jamaica
Jamaican thing we full of flavor. Hey, we set the trend style major. Juicy patty, happy savor. You know the party nice when we do the juicy patty bone. Patty bone, patty bone, watch it bones. Hot patty, watch it steam. Juicy patty bone, patty bone, patty bone, watch it bones. Juicy patty, ready for we go. From food I keep in our party. Juicy patty, have something for everybody. So patty for nice. Patty bone, watch it bones. Hot patty, watch it steam. Juicy patty bones. Grab your family and do the juicy patty bones.
We a big deal when we touch ground. Yeah, a KFC when we pulling up.
Anything for the taste of a KFC, big deal. The time by KFC is...
It's a big payday sale at Courts! 3 days of mega savings from Friday, October 25 to Sunday the 27th. Save $30,000 or more on smart TVs, stoves, fridges, washers, dining, bedroom, and lounge furniture. Make your first payment in January 2025 when you shop on credit 18 months and over. Don't miss the big payday sale at Courts, October 25 to 27 with savings of $30,000 or more. Stores open 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Courts, bringing value home. Conditions apply.
Now for a look at what's been gaining traction on social media.
So, what's trending in our local social media spaces? Royalton Negril employees win big after brief protest. They've secured better pay in addition to other benefits. Notably, the general manager of Royalton Negril has been suspended, marking a significant development in the aftermath of the protest. Here are some of your thoughts. At the Bad Gal Nay writes, more while you have to just make nice and stand on business. At least there's a change. Love this for them. At Ashadia says, united we stand, divided we fall. More while for change to come, everybody have to come together. At King Clark posts, humble calf don't get the milk. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Make nice when you want something. At Mika_unruly shares, sad that this had to happen for them to get better, but I'm glad they were seen and heard. At Adonis Films comments, sometimes you have to dark up a place. At Mwendez Push adds, nothing worth it comes without a fight. At RB and the Sons Building Solutions writes, when everyone stand together, trust me, you don't know what we can accomplish. Stronger together. And that's what's trending online today. Continue to share your thoughts with us on X at CVM TV and the CVM_television on Instagram. I'm Ronaldo Adams.
And next, regional and international news.
We begin with news in the region. In St. Lucia, British American Insurance Company Limited and CLICO policyholders have lost their discrimination claim against Trinidad and Tobago over the 2009 bailout of CL Financial. CCJ President Justice Adrian Saunders delivered a summary of the court's ruling. More from DBS Television.
The CCJ's decision comes after a 15-year period during which policyholders across the Eastern Caribbean, including many in St. Lucia, have been seeking fair treatment and financial recovery since the collapse of British American Insurance and CLICO in 2009. The British American and CLICO policyholders group Backhold filed a lawsuit with the CCJ on July 13, 2021, seeking payment of more than $800 million from the government of Trinidad and Tobago owed to policyholders. Backhold's attorneys argue that the Trinidad and Tobago government's actions discriminated against OACS policyholders based on nationality. The court found that the measures were properly within the state's exercise of governmental authority and were aimed at mitigating the effects of the collapse on the local economy.
The court noted that if the claimant's arguments were correct, it would mean that the defendant would have been responsible for bailing out all BICO policyholders in other Caribbean territories. The court found that it could not have been within the contemplation of the framers of the RTC that the member states in such circumstances would be obliged to compensate all BICO policyholders in all CARICOM states for all their loss and damage.
Barbados and the region are being encouraged by President of Ghana, Dr. Irfan Ali, to embrace artificial intelligence in education. He has warned that failure to do so could result in the Caribbean being left behind in an era of technological development. President Ali urged policymakers to emerge from the summit in Trinidad with ideas on how to further integrate technology in schools. We hear more from CBC News, Barbados.
The Caribbean is already suffering from a digital gap with the rest of the world. While other regions have accelerated their integration of advanced technologies into their education systems, our region has struggled with this transition. Many of our schools still rely heavily on traditional chalk and talk methods, and the shift towards digital learning has been slower than necessary. This is a gap we must close quickly. Our transition to digital education was compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic. It revealed how unprepared we were for a shift to online learning and highlighted the need for significant investment in digital infrastructure.
And in international news, leaders of the BRICS alliance have met at the annual summit in the Russian city of Kazan. The group has taken a step towards its aim of breaking the dominance of the US dollar in global trade. Russian President Vladimir Putin says that more than 30 countries are interested in joining the alliance of emerging economies. This report from Al Jazeera.
Putting on an elegant show of power, the Russian president may be locked in war with Ukraine and facing sanctions from the West, but 24 world leaders representing almost half the world's population are attending the 16th BRICS summit in Russia's city of Kazan. And it's a group that's getting bigger. Egypt, Iran, the UAE and Ethiopia are attending for the first time.
The trend towards maintaining the leading position of BRICS in the global economy appears to be strengthening. First of all, due to such factors as population growth, capital accumulation, urbanization, and increased labor productivity, accompanied by technological innovation.
The aim of the alliance is to challenge the economic and political monopoly of the West. They want to create a new banking system, something which the president of Brazil says will help reduce commercial costs.
The BRICS New Development Bank will establish credit lines in local currencies, which will reduce transaction costs for small and medium-sized enterprises.
Iran proposed a new network